Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Following news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. The race to contain a wildfire that's tearing through California's wine country. Major concerns about air quality near a Louisiana factory that's been burning for more than a day. And news about a key figure in the immigration crackdown. Could he be deported to Africa? In Northern California, the urgent battle to a fire that's burned thousands of acres in Napa Valley. Evacuation orders in effect as crews face a wall of smoke and flames. The West sweltering with more than 50 million under heat alerts. Triple-digit temperatures in Southern California. On the East Coast, beaches reopening as Aaron heads further out to sea. But the danger remains with swimmers rescued from dangerous rip currents. And the flash flooding risk in the Southeast. Our weather team is timing it all out. Also tonight, the growing danger after the explosion and fire at a factory in Louisiana. Residents who live within a mile are being told to stay away. Concerns about the air quality and the soot coming from that building. Why authorities are telling people, don't touch it. A new twist in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man mistakenly sent to a notorious prison in El Salvador. He's free for now, but his lawyers say the Trump administration is threatening to deport him to Uganda if he doesn't accept a plea deal, where his case stands right now. Chaos at a high school football game as gunshots are heard. Players and fans seen running for safety. A passenger jet bound for Las Vegas forced to make an emergency landing after the crew reports a disruptive passenger. Tragedy on the set of the Netflix show Emily in Paris. An assistant director collapses and dies. Price check. Some of America's largest retailers say they're absorbing most of the costs of new tariffs. But for how long? When you could see higher prices. The sweet meeting at the lemonade stand that melted hearts. A young fan and one of her favorite players. And what to watch for as we count down to the U.S. Open.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York. We're here with Mr. Conservative, our friend from the Senate, Ted Cruz. Senator Cruz, your state is going to add, we think, I mean, you still need elections, you're going to add 5 Republicans. So the breakdown in your state will be 30 Republicans, 7 Democrats, 1 vacancy. In California, where they bypassed the Constitution, which was okay with the state Supreme Court, which is loaded with Democrats, it's going to go, they have 52 members, they're going to have 48 Democrats and 4 Republicans. So effectively, California will not be representing its people in any respect, any way you look at it. Texas, 30-7. Almost looks like you're being way too liberal for the Democrats, if you ask me, when you look at what's happening in California. I'm being sarcastic, but you get the point. So this guy Newsom really is a fraud and a phony, isn't he? He's doing this for the Democrats, he's doing this for the hardcore leftists, but he is denying the franchise to millions and millions of Californians, isn't he?
Well, Gavin Newsom is dishonest and he is a hypocrite. And if you look across the country, virtually all of the most egregious partisan gerrymanders in the country are perpetrated by Democrats. California right now today, 58% of California votes Democrat. The current congressional delegation in California is 43 Democrats and 9 Republicans. That is 83% Democrat right now. So 58% votes Democrat, they get 83% of the delegation. How about Illinois? Illinois, 54% of Illinois votes Democrat. Their congressional delegation is 14 Democrats and just 3 Republicans. That's 82%. 54% of the state gets 82% of the delegation. How about Massachusetts? Massachusetts actually says to California and Illinois, sit down, hold my beer. Massachusetts, about 35% of the state votes Republican. They get 0 congressional representation. There are 9 congressional seats in Massachusetts. All 9 are drawn to elect Democrats. It is 9-0, 100% Democrat. Now, how about Texas? Texas, right now, about 56% of the state votes Republican. The current breakdown is 24 Republicans, 14 Democrats. That's 63%. So 56% of the state is electing 63% of the delegation. The new map that is drawn to elect 5 more Republicans is going to take Texas from 63% to 76%. 76% is still less than California, is less than Illinois, it is less than Massachusetts, it is less than Connecticut, it is less than Maryland, it is less than the egregious partisan gerrymanders. And what does Gavin Newsom say? Well, 83% is not enough. We want to basically obliterate the 40-some-odd% of Californians who vote Republican. We want to take away their ability to elect any Republicans to Congress.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube.
On this Saturday night, high-stakes diplomacy. The Prime Minister touches down in Europe to talk trade and security ceasefire for Ukraine, as thousands of Ukrainians gather in Kyiv and Canada, calling for an end to Russia's war.
I know my grandma can't sleep whenever there's strikes.
Emotional reunion. A man mistakenly deported to El Salvador reunites with his family in the U.S., while he now faces a new threat. More turbulence for Air Canada, why many flight attendants reportedly plan to vote against the deal that ended a crippling strike. Plus, marriage on the Midway. You may kiss the bride. Long-distance love story that won this Ontario couple the chance to tie the knot at Canada's largest festival. Global National. Reporting tonight, Jeff Sipple. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Prime Minister has just arrived in Europe. Mark Carney will spend the next few days meeting with political leaders to discuss securing a ceasefire for Ukraine. He's also shoring up economic alliances in the face of President Donald Trump's trade war. The trip includes stops in Germany and Poland, and that is where we find our David Aiken, who is traveling with the Prime Minister. So, David, what can you tell us about Carney's agenda in Europe?
Well, Jeff, Canada and the European Union these days, of course, are facing a common set of issues. First, dealing with the fallout from Donald Trump's global tariffs. And then, of course, there's the war in Ukraine. Prime Minister Mark Carney will spend a day each year in Poland, Germany, and Latvia, starting on Monday. He'll be accompanied by Defense Minister David McGuinty. And the two will be visiting with Canadian Armed Forces personnel who are stationed in Poland.
Tonight, a major victory for President Trump. Texas charges ahead, redrawing the congressional map in a push for political advantage.
Is a legal man.
I'm Willie James Inman at the White House. President Trump sparks a fierce battle for control of Congress long before the next votes in the midterms are cast.
Also tonight, Israel defiant after famine now declared in Gaza.
And I'm because time in London, where Israel's allies, the European Union, and here in the UK have called the confirmation of famine, quote, utterly horrifying and wholly preventable.
Parole denied.
Emily's president in Los Angeles, why the Menendez brothers have hope for freedom decades after murdering their parents.
Sin City slowdown, why Las Vegas isn't feeling so lucky.
I'm honored here in Las Vegas, why visitors are down, spending is slipping, and businesses say this is the slowest summer that they've seen in years.
Plus, weather threat.
I'm meteorologist Andrew Kozak, a new threat in the Atlantic, and tracking triple-digit heat for millions. I'll have your forecast.
And later, meet Bruno, the retriever. On game day in Sartell, Minnesota, he's all in. Competing with children, chasing down foul balls.
I want that ball.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York with Jerika Duncan. Good morning. The Prime Minister says he's curbed judges' power in asylum cases.
The Times is reporting Sir Keir Starmer will overhaul the appeal system in an effort to deport failed asylum seekers faster.
And that move will also aim to prevent the hotel crisis from derailing the government's strategy on immigration.
But as protests gather steam nationwide, is it all too little, too late?
Meanwhile, there's a stark warning for Rachel Reeves. Economists are saying that Britain is going to head towards a 70s-style debt crisis unless she changes her thinking.
And targeting criminals, offenders will be barred from pubs, concerts and sports matches under new sentencing powers unveiled by the government today.
President Trump's immigration crackdown. The US immigrant population has apparently plunged by over 1 million. It comes amid protests, of course, against intensified enforcement actions.
And continued support for Ukraine. Defence Secretary John Healey says British military experts will carry on training Ukrainian soldiers on UK soil until at least the end of 2026.
Good morning. Arsenal underlined their title prowess with a 5-goal demolition of Leeds United at the Emirates. New signing Victor Gyökeres was off the mark with 2 goals. Iberi Eze was presented to his new crowd, and 15-year-old Max Dowman made his debut off the bench.
There was a lot of cloud across the UK yesterday. High pressure still in charge today. Will there be some more sunshine? Find out all the weather details coming up soon.
Well, it's just gone 6 o'clock. Good morning to you. I'm Anne Diamond.
And I'm Cameron Walker, and this is TV News Breakfast.
Just search for Don't Drink the Milk wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry says dozens of Palestinians have been killed as Israel presses ahead with its operation to occupy Gaza City. Israel's defense minister has threatened to open the, quote, gates of hell if Hamas refuses its ceasefire demands. The UN says 500,000 people are affected by famine in the area. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Ukraine's land will never be given away to Russia. He was speaking in Kyiv on Ukraine's National Flag Day. Zelensky says the blue and yellow banner is a symbol of hope for Ukrainians living under occupation. Earlier, he said the Kremlin is stopping him meeting Vladimir Putin for peace talks. Far-right supporters have gathered in cities across Britain to protest against asylum seeker accommodation. They're angry about migrants being housed in hotels. Counter-protests have also been staged. More than 50,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel in small boats in the last year. This is DW News from Berlin. There's more news on our website, dw.com.
Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak here on France 24. Our headlines early this Sunday. Israeli strikes and gunfire killed dozens in Gaza, including groups seeking aid in the north and a camp for the displaced in the south. Gaza City remains under imminent threat of an Israeli offensive, despite a formal declaration of famine and international outcry. Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine will never give their land to an occupier as the country celebrates its National Flag Day. That holiday comes on the eve of Ukraine's 34th Independence Day this Sunday. And clashes break out in Liverpool between anti-immigration protesters and anti-racist counter-protesters. Anti-migrant demonstrators have been galvanized by a court ruling this week that blocked the UK government from using a hotel outside London to house asylum seekers.
Hello, very good morning. It's 6 o'clock. Coming up on the show today, the UK braces for more protests over hotels housing asylum seekers.
And Arsenal go top of the Premier League as they put 5 past Leeds. We've got the action on the way.
It's Sunday, 24th of August. Police clash with protesters as demonstrations take place across the country over hotels housing asylum seekers, and more are planned for today. The government announces plans to overhaul the asylum appeal system to speed up cases. Also ahead, could Keir Starmer's moves to establish relations with Syria's new government mean that former jihadis are allowed to return to the UK? New rules could see criminals barred from going to pubs, football matches or concerts instead of prison. In the late burst of summer, the UK could see 30 degrees over the bank holiday weekend.
And Arsenal have completed the signing of England forward Iberi Eze from Crystal Palace. We'll show you how they unveiled him at the Emirates.
Hello, very good morning. Thanks for joining us here on the...
Today, massive crowds take to streets across the country as part of a national day of action against war in Gaza. federal government to freeze the construction code and speed up approvals to boost housing supply.
What we want here is builders doing what they do best, and that is building high-quality homes for Australians. We don't want them stuck in the back office as they are today, filling in forms and dealing with bureaucracy.
3 people found unresponsive with stab wounds at a home in the New South Wales Blue Mountains.
Jude gets up and goes again. Hat trick for Miller.
Open their Cup campaign with a record-breaking 73-0 win over Samoa. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Melissa McKay. Protesters are rallying at dozens of demonstrations across the country today as part of a nationwide action against war in Gaza.
Free Palestine!
There's been a large turnout at the rallies in all of Australia's capital cities as well as regional centres. Protesters are demanding sanctions as well as calling for an end to the Israel-Gaza conflict and an immediate ceasefire. We'll hear from our reporter on the ground in Melbourne shortly to hear about the matter. It's us. Molly, you're in Brisbane. It's loud behind you there. What's happening?
Headline news this hour. The southern Chinese city of Sanya on Hainan Island has shut tourism, businesses and suspended public transport as it braces for Typhoon Kajiki. The storm could make landfall along Hainan's coast later today or skirt the coastline before heading towards Vietnam. China has issued a red typhoon alert, the highest in its color-coded warning system, and raised its emergency response to the most severe level. Pyongyang has tested new missiles amid rising border tensions after South Korea fired warning shots on the North's troops earlier in the week for allegedly crossing the border. And Israel has expanded its offensive to take Gaza City. The death toll from attacks and starvation continues to climb as the UN declares famine in the besieged enclave. And that's the latest from the CNN Newsroom.
Africa News. The news.
The DRC and M23 rebels may have signed a peace declaration in Qatar, but violence still rages in eastern Congo. The UN warns that diplomatic efforts have yet to stop the bloodshed.
Regrettably, the evolution of the security situation on the ground has not matched the progress achieved on the diplomatic front, while the parties are yet to comply with their obligations under Security Council Resolution 2773.
The Doha Pact followed June talks in Washington, but M23 wasn't at the table and says it won't honor the agreement.
En dépit de toutes ces initiatives de paix,
despite all these peace initiatives, we remain concerned in light of recent developments about the sincerity of Rwanda's commitment and that of their AFC M23 auxiliaries, who persist in trampling on their obligations under the Washington Peace Agreement and the Doha Declaration of Principles. Rwanda has also voiced its concern, demanding its territory be protected amid ongoing tensions.
It is not only negotiable the territorial integrity of the DRC, so is the territorial integrity of neighbors of DRC, including Rwanda. And the territorial integrity and sovereign obligations of any member country of the UN include fair treatment of citizens. Sovereignty comes along with obligations. The DRC must stop mistreating or treating part of their population as less than citizens.
Thousands have been killed and hundreds of thousands displaced in the conflict. More than 2 years after 40 bodies of followers of a doomsday cult were recovered from Shakahola Forest in coastal Kenya, a further 5 more bodies are found in the nearby village of Kwambi Zaro.
Authorities say they've also uncovered 10 human body parts scattered in nearby thickets in Cleveland County.
At the commencement of this exercise, we had 27 suspected graves. So today we managed to exhume 6 of the 6 graves. We found 5 bodies, and then also in the area we found
experts and give out nations of the stories found here.
That's not what we have found here today.
The fresh graves could be tied to what was one of the deadliest car tragedies ever. Hundreds followed Pastor Paul McKenzie's deadly command to starve for salvation. Now he's behind bars, charged with murder and awaiting trial.
Fayal, one of the islands in the middle of the Atlantic.
Tonight on PBS News Weekend, from inside Gaza, an aid worker on what's next now that famine has been officially declared and Israel is poised to intensify the war. Then the future of voting by mail as President Trump calls the practice corrupt and vows to end it. And the land of fire and ice. Scientists are flocking to Iceland to see whether melting glacier could meet more intense earthquakes and volcanic eruptions.
Iceland is essentially one of the best places in the world to study this. It's a natural laboratory.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.